It's a great privilege for me to formally address you all, the participants in particular, for this. We are going to have this 2 days program on a short course on project management and execution, project execution and management. So details you will hear later also. I'll just give you a little of it, a little brief of it. That is, as we know, projects are conceived, but while in the process of execution, we face a lot of unprecedented issues often. So, what we learn in the classroom from the academics, we learn something definitely. The standard procedures, the standard operating systems, etc. But here we are having a platform where we are having both from the academics. We have some faculty from the business school of IIT Guwahati who will be telling us about certain aspects of this project management. But along with that, we I would say a galaxy of industry experts. Industry experts are, I mean, a very senior experts who's had a vast experience in handling various projects over last maybe 40, 50 years like that. So for the participants, I'm telling it is a great opportunity that this platform will give you to hear the so-called the theoretical aspects from the academic angle, and more importantly, the practical aspects, what these senior people they have faced over their lifetime handling so many various projects. That is very, very important, often in the form of case studies, etc. It will be presented. This entire program was conceived by Mr. Amitabh Ghosh, who had been toying with the idea that all these things people they learn, but if we get an opportunity where the industry experts can interact with the people, then it will definitely enhance their understanding of the of what it means executing a project and to manage it successfully. So that we'll be getting here. I'm sure at the end of the day means end of it's a 2 day program. So I would request all the participants to to be present and truly attentively listen to the speakers what they have to say. You have a great opportunity to enhance your understanding and skills for handling projects which you will be handling definitely in your coming career, wherever you are employed with. So, with that, I would request Professor Dwivedi, Santosh SK, Professor SK Dwivedi, who is a professor of mechanical engineering at IIT Guwahati and also project director of Technology Innovation Hub, which is under the what do you call Government of India project, a scheme running in IIT Guwahati. He will brief you about. He's the project director of that. Uh, we have. I would thank Professor Dwivedi and the TIH team to help us to organize this program we are doing under the aegis of Technology Innovation Hub at IIT Guwahati. I would request Professor Dwivedi to share few words and let all of us know. I little bit know, I know, and some of the IIT faculty they will know, but others may not know what are the functions and objectives this TIH is doing and how it is contributing towards technology innovation and development. So I would request Professor Dwivedi. I hope he is there. Yes, he is there. So Professor Dwivedi, please, and thank you. Thank you very much. Oh,
Professor Dwivedi, are you there?
Professor Dwivedi, what happened? Suddenly he got locked out.
I request those who are keeping their microphone on, please put your microphone off when you are not speaking. That will help speakers to speak uninterruptedly.
Yes.
Mr. Devobroto, your mic is on. Amitabh Ghosh, your mic is on. So, can you please? Professor Dwivedi, can you hear us?
Actually, I'm trying to call him. He was there. He was there.
He
Just he
was
got
there.
locked up.
He was
Yeah.
preparing himself.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
I could
Let,
see him.
yeah, let me call him. Let me call him.
He was preparing himself for the lecture, but suddenly, I think there is some link failure or something like that. Can we go ahead with next?
He'll be joining. I think he can next. If Amitabh, yeah, you can continue. He'll be
Yeah.
just joining. Somehow he had to
So,
go out.
so I request Mr. Niranjan Saha to start his. Uh,
Yeah.
Mr. Saha, please take over. You unmute yourself first. First, unmute yourself. Your mic. Yes. Now we can. You can
Now,
speak
okay.
now. Yeah, you can speak now.
Good afternoon, Dr. Mondal. Dr. Dwivedi is not yet joined anyway. Mr. Ghosh, other lecturers and participants. IIT Guwahati and GVS Energy Private Limited jointly have organized this online short training course for 2 days, today and tomorrow. Uh, the subject of this training course is project management and execution. I will tell first something about our organization GVS Energy Private Limited. Actually, I along with Mr. Amitabh Ghosh and our common friend Mr. Abhijit Bishoyi opened this company in 2017. We are also associated with engineers and experts from different fields of engineering industry. Our business area is in the power sector like thermal, hydro, non-conventional energy, material handling, steel industries, cooling tower, and also other equipment manufacturing areas. We are organizing seminars online and offline at regular intervals on power sector areas. Recently, we have done one offline seminar and a huge response we got from different engineers and experts of uh, different industry like power and other areas. Now, as this training course, as we have already organized with IIT Guwahati and Acclaimed industry experts, and the different lecturers will deliver covering the topics of project management like types of project environment, project strategy, procurement and negotiation management, billing schedule and cash flow management, civil and structural design, welding technology, and also some other areas. As Dr. Mondol has already told you that participants, particularly the final year students and the engineers who have recently joined in engineering industry, will be benefited and they get a clear idea about project management and how a project can be executed and completed in scheduled time and within budget. This training course will cover project management from ordering stage to completion of the project. But I, in my last 40 years in power sector, was associated with many greenfield projects, starting from land acquisition to the completion period. So I would share my views, something about my experience, as today's subject mainly will cover from the ordering stage to completion stage. But I will say something about before ordering stage and just from the um, from the about the from the project concept stage to pre-ordering stage. I want to mention some activities to be done during this period, and regular monitoring and management also required to shorten this total period. One project, particularly the thermal power project, the capacity of the project selection will depend mainly on availability of land. For coal-fired thermal power plant, as per CEA norm, the land requirement is almost from 0.6 acres to per megawatt, 0.6 acres per megawatt. So if it is a 500 capacity unit, megawatt capacity unit, 300 to 400 acres land will be required. Earlier, this land requirement was very high because of ash pond. Earlier, the fly ash and bottom ash, the ash which is required to be stored in ash pond, for which a big ash pond area was required. But nowadays, the environment requirement is very stringent and 100% fly ash utilization is required. So the one small ash pond is sufficient for emergency purpose and to store the bottommost portion. Then comes the source of water. Preferably, the plant site should be nearer to any river, as during operation, the plant authority is to pay a huge amount of money on the basis of the amount of water drawn from the river, and also there is a restriction that the temperature of the discharge water to the river after cooling tower of the after cooling of the condenser should not be more than 10 degrees centigrade. For this reason, nowadays, most of the plants are using cooling tower and only the makeup water, whose quantity is very less, is drawn from the river. Next comes the source of coal. The plant site is selected so that the coal can be transported easily from the nearby mines, and the transportation cost is also minimized. Then comes the railway. The project site should be very near to the existing railway line. Otherwise, a new railway line is to be constructed and a huge cost is involved in that case. And lastly, the project finance. So whatever we do, that after selection of the land, first activity start is the environment impact study of the project site area. However, the preparation of DPR can be started sometimes with a rapid environment impact study, because the total project environment impact study is to be done for 1 year. But without waiting for 1 year, to a rapid environment impact study or taking 6 months, we may start preparation of DPR. And after preparation of DPR, we should start apply for different government agencies for clearances of different aspects of the power plant. That is, coal linkage from Ministry of Coal, chimney height clearance from Aviation Department, water availability clearance from Ministry of Water Resources, railway clearance for coal transportation, then power evacuation clearance from transmission company. Then after that, we require a clearance from CA. CA will give clearance provided we get all other this coal linkage, the aviation department and railway clearance, etc. And lastly, the clearance of MOEF. This is a very difficult for getting the clearance from MOEF, because there is a body comprising of different experts of all over India, and a meeting is held every 3 months under the Ministry of Environment and Forest. The project authority is to place their proposal and all environment measures they have taken for the power plant, and they are to place in report of the committee, and if they are satisfied, they give the clearance. The last comes the financial arrangement. So only after getting all these clearances, financial institution or bank, they can be approached, and they, if they agree, they sanction the total finance which is given as loan to the project authority. For thermal power project, the present cost is around 6 crore per megawatt. That is, if a 500 megawatt project is to be constructed, the total cost will be around 3,000 crore, 2,500 to 3,000 crore. Normally, debt equity ratio is that the project authority is to cater or they are to bear 30% of the total cost, and they can get 70% as loan from the financial institution or bank. So after the availability of total fund, then only we can start procurement of equipment and start the erection and other activities. So whatever I have told, that this total job from the project concept stage to financial closure, it takes about 2 to 3 years. So in my opinion, it is also required to be close monitoring and regular interaction with the government department for getting these clearances and other activities to be completed as soon as possible, so that the total period from the uh, inception of or from the uh, starting of the project to the completion of the project may be reduced considerably. Thank you. So, and regarding from the ordering stage to the completion, the total management, you will learn in different lecture in this training course.
Thank you, Mr. Shah. I think Professor Dwivedi have joined the session. Are you there, Professor Dwivedi?
Yes, I think he has joined.
Professor Dwivedi?
Yeah, I'm here actually.
Yeah.
But
Can you start
yeah,
the session?
yeah, you can start.
Yeah. Please start it.
Yeah, so my camera is not working actually. So so let me tell. So thank you, Professor Mandal and Mr. Amitabh Ghosh for coordinating this short-term course, which is funded from this TIH IIT Guwahati. Actually, TIH is Technology Innovation Hub, which is funded by this NMICPS, that is National Mission on Interdisciplinary Cyber Physical System. In DST, actually, this is a mission project. So there are 25 TIHs across our country is there, and IIT Guwahati has been given the mandate of developing a TIH in underwater exploration. So we are working in this underwater exploration area. Main projects are running actually, around 60 projects are running in the area of underwater exploration. And we have a mandate of actually conducting several short-term courses. So already Professor Mandal and Professor Ghosh, they have conducted the second short-term course they are conducting, and we have already finished around 15 short-term courses and many more short-term courses. So we are going to do. I welcome all of you. If you are interested, you can organize a short-term course which will be beneficial for the students. And this particular short-term course on this project management and execution will be, I think, will be helpful to all the students as the final year students are joining this program. So it will be very, very useful for them, for particularly knowing this project, how they can complete their project. Now in BTech, actually, they are going for the, in the final year, they are going to the company, they are joining the company and doing several projects there. And the short-term course will be useful for them, not only now and but also after completion of their BTech program also. So I wish this short-term course a great success. Thank you very much, sir. So you can continue the
Okay.
short-term course. Okay.
Thank you, Professor Dwivedi.
Yeah.
I now request Mr. Amitabh Ghosh, who is the Director of GBS Energy Private Limited and ex-Senior Vice President of Texmaco, ex-Executive Director of Titagar, ex-President of Om Metal and Director GBS Energy, as I told. And Mr. Ghosh has several years experience in project execution and management. So after the, he will deliver his inaugural speech now, and his technical lecture will be delivered later on. Mr. Ghosh, please start your inaugural speech.
Okay, thank you, Arnav. And good afternoon, everybody. We welcome you all for this two-day program of short course on project management and execution. This is an unique IIT industry initiative, a model towards Atmanirbhar Bharat. IIT faculties and acclaimed industry experts will deliver lectures from the same platform on the same subject. As you know, in Indian projects generally are delayed for various reasons, resulting time and cost overrun. In view of the same, knowledge of project management and execution is very much relevant for all concerned. I want to share an anecdote on this issue. Long time back, say around 1997, when late Rishi Modi was chairman of IIT Kharagpur, and he was also the head of Tata Steel. So I was working in a private sector doing a big steel plant modernization work. Then he approached in a meeting that he said that I find that IIT is not going to industry and industry is not coming to IIT. And this should not happen. They should work together for the betterment of the society, like all the foreign countries they do. So he had an idea that let's float a bridge or link company, which will link between IIT and industry for education, training, business, everything. So we floated a company that time, and chairman emeritus was late Rishi Modi. Chairman was my ex-boss, Dr. Majumdar, and co-chairman was Professor K.L. Chopra, late, and I was the managing director of that company. That company ran for 2-3 years, but for various reasons we could not continue. I came back to the industry again. But I still have an idea on the same situation, and I was talking to IIT Guwahati and particularly Professor Mandal. And then we started the initiative. And in this year, in the February, we had a session on this, IIT industry initiative for a course on bulk coal handling plant at in association with Bharat and ourselves. And that was a great success. So taking it forward, we thought that why not we do in a more interesting subject, which is common for everybody, that is project management and execution. So I would like to thank everybody, Professor Devedi, Professor Mandal, and my Mr. Shah, and all the panelists who are really acclaimed industrialists, and they have a long years of proven track record in this area of project management and execution. So I'm sure with their lectures, the participants will enrich in this subject, because without project management and execution, no project can be successful. And here, we, particularly Indians, continuously falter. I mean, there is, I think, exceptionally few projects are completed in time. So I would like to thank everybody. And again, finally, I'll say that our company, GPS Energy, as industry partner of IIT Guwahati, we look forward to continued cooperation for suitable opportunities in education, training, and corporate initiatives to make efforts towards socio-economic development and Atmanirbhar Bharat. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ghosh. Now we'll straightaway go to the session 1. Session 1 will be on different types of projects and project environment, and secondly on project strategy and project risk. The lectures will be given by Dr. Pratul Chandra Kalita, Associate Professor, School of Business, IIT Guwahati. So over to you, Mr. Kalita. Please start your session. It's
Uh,
a one and just a minute, Dr. Kalita. It's a 1.5 year half hour session, and I request all the participants to keep their microphone off for uninterrupted speech of Dr. Kalita. Over to you, Dr. Kalita.
Thank you, Professor Banerjee. It's a very proud moment for me. In front of me, Professor Amitabh Ghosh is there, and I'm thankful to Professor Pankaj Biswas, Professor S.K. Dwivedi, and Professor Niranjan Saha for giving me this opportunity. So, without taking much time, I'm straight away going to my presentation. I'm going to basically talk about the different types of projects, and also I'll talk about the project strategy, and I'll also give special emphasis on different tools and methods for risk and change management. I'd like to request to kindly confirm whether you can see my slide or not. I request the coordinator to kindly confirm
Yeah,
whether.
we can see. Maybe full screen you can make. It's
Great.
visible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I made it full screen. So is it
yeah,
full screen now?
It is
yeah,
visible.
yeah,
You
yeah.
please
It's
you
fine.
please pin it.
Yes,
You
fine.
please
Okay.
pin it.
Okay. Fine. Thank you. So I'll discuss about the basic concepts of project management. I'll also discuss about different types of projects and project environment, and also project strategy and project risk. So just to start with, uh, what do we understand by project planning? So, if a project is involving a few activities and resource constraints and the interrelationship, uh, that can be visualized easily by the human mind and plan accordingly. So, if a project is involving only a few activities and resource and constraints, so if the interrelationships are very less, so a professional project management is not required. But when the project crosses a certain level of size and complexity, informal planning has to be substituted by formal planning. So therefore, there's a need of formal planning for the greater for the project work than the normal operations. So there's a huge difference between the general management principles and the project management principles, because the moment we talk about the general management principles, we are basically focusing on the status quo, whereas the project management is a very special situation, because in the project management it's a one-time activity, and it is having the mainly two constraints, that is the cost and the time. So what are the basic functions of planning in terms of project? So number one is that it provides a basis for organizing the work on the project and allocating responsibilities to individuals. So management responsibility and authority is something very important. In the latter part of our discussion, we will also discuss about the organizational structure that is required for any project management activity. So the moment you talk about the management responsibility and authority, that is something very very crucial in terms of project management. It is the means of communication and coordination between all those involved in the project. It induces people to look ahead. It instills a sense of urgency and time consciousness. It establishes the basis for monitoring and control. I've been the part of different corporate projects during my corporate life. Uh, I worked for British Oxygen Company, and I was a part of two major projects of British Oxygen Company. Now it is called the Linde Group. So one is the 1290 tons per day
per day oxygen generation plant for Tata Steel, and the other is the hydrogen generation plant for Progressor Thermal Power Project. So during those days, I have really seen the amount of professional project management these companies apply, and as a result, the way they deliver their output. So in the latter part of my life, I joined academics and I became the part of several government projects. I also experience the challenges in different development projects. So in this discussion, I will also discuss about the difference between certain corporate projects which are very much output oriented and profit oriented versus developmental projects where the objectives are very different and the approach is also different. So when you talk about the areas of planning, so you'll find in my presentations you'll find a mix of theoretical frameworks and also some output from some research and also some practical exposure. So now I'm talking about the basic theory, the theories behind the areas of planning in project management. So when we discuss the projects, you'll be able to find the links of these theoretical frameworks in the practical execution of projects. So first is the NCTP framework. I'll discuss about it. Then the organization structure. This is the metric structure. So we basically follow a metric structure in a project environment. So the basic your line and function organization doesn't work in project environment. So we need to have a metric structure. So how do we define the project objectives and policies? And those has to be smart objective and policies. How do we very clearly define the project objectives and policies which are achievable and measurable? Because the moment we talk about project management, we basically talk about the PIME, no, project implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. And in all these stages, the measurement is something very important. How do we measure? So therefore, this work breakdown structure is very important. So from work breakdown structure, finally you derive to the program evaluation and review technique and the critical path method, etc. But the basic fundamental is the work breakdown structure. It is very important for us to understand the entire life cycle of the project. So, so the different project will go through different phases, and in different phase, different kind of people and different kind of expertise will be needed, and different types of resources will be needed. And as a project manager, how do you manage those resources in different phases of the entire life cycle of the project? So bar chart is something which should be very clear in the minds and heart of the entire project team, and that actually gives you the basis for monitoring the progress, and it also instills the sense of urgency among the entire team members of your project. Network analysis, so we call it the part in the CPM, that is the program evaluation and review technique and the critical path method. We are not going into details of those, but these are the tools that we need to use. Identification of stakeholders and impact analysis. So this is something I have always realized in all the developmental projects. The identification of stakeholders and impact analysis is very important. We'll discuss about the stakeholder metrics and how do we analyze the constraints. So I'll discuss something like constraint metrics for analysis the stakeholders and their impact. Now let us go one by one. That is the NCTP framework. So in your screen, you can see the NCTP framework. So N stands for novelty, then comes C for complexity, T for technology, and P for pace. So in project management, understanding exactly where your project lies. You see, if you see the novelty side, it is the, so it may be a derivative project, so maybe a kind of a development project. So from novelty point of view, it may not be something very novel, right? Something very new, but it is derivative kind of. Then slightly you increase the novelty, then it becomes a platform kind of project, or it can be breakthrough. So if you talk about the fundamental research projects, so those will come in the breakthrough projects. And so if there is an existing technology, a very proven technology is already there, and you are taking and you are exploiting that existing technology or that existing product service system, where you are not giving much emphasis on the novelty, so it becomes a derivative project. And if you're slightly increasing the novelty, it may become a platform kind of a project. So in terms of technology, it can be a low tech low tech implementation of the a low technology based project, or it can be a project based on the medium technology or high technology or super high technology. So when you talk about the super high technology, you may think of the technology which has just come out of the research lab, and you as an organization, you want to exploit the first benefit of it. So so what kind of technology basically you are using in that particular project, that would define the challenges that your manager will go through. Then in terms of assembly, right, it can be the system or it can be the array of different complexities. So if it is an assembly kind of, the things are pretty structured, right? So very structured standard operating processes or very structured way of going ahead. If it's a system, then it's slightly complex, and if it's an array, it's a very high complex project. Then comes the pace. So whether it's a regular pace, number two is whether it's a fast and competitive pace, right? And whether it's a time critical. So you have a very stringent deadline, and then you need to stick to those deadlines, or it's a breeze. It's a um, highly fixed deadline based project, right? So you as a team, you need to identify that in terms of novelty, where the project falls, whether it's a derivative kind of a platform or a purely breakthrough kind of. What kind of technology that you are using? Is it a low tech, medium tech, high tech, and super high tech? In terms of complexity, because the moment you talk about a product service system, so it becomes more complex. So in terms of complexity of the linkages of different entities of the project and the different sub projects within the project, so what is the complexity of the entire construct? And the pace, what is the deadline? Because in project management, all of us, we can understand that basically there are two constraints. One is the cost and the other is the time. So maybe you come up with the desirable output, but you have already your project is already delayed. So in that case, you may not be able to exploit the commercial or the social benefit that was expected during your the DPR stage, that is the detailed project report stage. So in the detailed project report stage, you committed something and you fail to achieve that only because from the time point of view, then also your project will be termed as some kind of failure. It may not be a full failure, but okay. So that is very important for us to understand that what will be the pace of the project. So in the program evaluation review technique also, we talk about the optimistic time, pessimistic time, most likely time. So on that basis, so we generate the critical path method, and then we calculate the total project time. As all of us can very easily understand that there will be parallel activities, or also there will be sequential activities. So depending on these situations and the precedence relationship, finally we derive the critical path. So, but what is the time that we have put for each and every activity? So, is it the optimistic time, pessimistic time, and the most likely time? And what is the basis? So, whether the basis was regular or fast competitive or time critical or blitz. So, this is a very popular framework, that is the NCTP framework, and it is very important for us to define that our project falls in which type of falls in which particular category as far as this NCTP framework is concerned. So this matrix organization, as I have referred to, so in organizational behavior, we talk about different types of organization structure. We talk about the line organization, we talk about line and staff organization. So in project management, we talk about matrix organization, which is a shadow organization based on your existing line and staff organization. So for project management, this matrix organization is a temporary organization, and this temporary organization will come into existence since the concept note until the final termination of the project. So once the project is terminated, the project this projectized organization, which is a matrix structure, is dismantled. So which means that a person in an organization may have 2-3 different portfolios. If the person is actually working in 2-3 projects at the same time, he'll be actually wearing different hats at different time in the context of different projects. For example, so the DGM engineering may be the project manager for one particular project, whereas for the other project, he may be the technical expert mechanical, or maybe the technical expert electronics. Similarly, suppose the DGM purchase. So DGM purchase may head a project, and he may become the project manager of maybe of a specific project, or for the other project, he may be the purchase manager. So which means that in a single organization, so as far as the line and staff functions basic designation within, and they will also have a designation as far as that particular project is concerned. So in the organizations like LNTCC or maybe Punzloy, you find that one particular person is actually involved in 2, 3 or more different projects, holding different portfolios, and all those portfolios comes into existence during the concept, right from the concept generation stage till the project termination stage. And their management responsibility and authority is very well defined. As far as that particular project is concerned, the management responsibility and authority of that particular position is very well defined, and the communication is also very well defined. So when we talk about project objective and policies, so before operational planning is done, the objective and policies guiding the project planning exercise must be articulated. The questions to be answered in this context are: what are the technical and performance objectives? So for that particular project, what are the technical and performance objective that we are trying to meet? So which is an integral part of the detailed project report itself. What are the time and cost goal? So as many of you may understand that the moment you go for the cost calculation of the project, we do not follow the traditional costing method. It is the activity-based costing method. So in fact, all the enterprise resource planning applications which are there for the project management, they follow the ABC costing, that is the activity-based costing. So and the cost will basically come from the resources, right? So in MS project also we make a resource bank, and from the resource bank we keep on pulling different resources for different activities, and that is how we get the activity-based cost for each and every activity. So it is very important for us to define the time and the cost goals. And number 3 is to what extent the work to be given to the outside contractors. Like the a single organization will not be able to execute all the activities of the project. So normally the big organizations they will not go for the manpower contract themselves. They basically rely on the subcontractors and the subcontractors like this. So managing contractors is something very, very important for any project management activity. So to what extent the work to be given to the outside contractors? So then how many contractors should be employed? And what should be the terms of contract? So in the Tata group of companies, this is something very interesting. You'll find that the different companies under the Tata group are competing with each other for one specific project of Tata group itself. So for example, Tata Steel, so, if I refer to Tata Steel's Kalinga project, so there the TCS, the Tata Growth Shop, actually had to compete with LNTCC. So that is something very interesting to observe in Tata Group. So so you'll find that how as a project manager you try to identify that these are the different activities to be performed, and those activities may result into some turnkey projects. So this, it is very important for us to understand the project and some sub projects, because one particular activity you make a turnkey project, and then you outsource that entire thing to one particular contractor, and for that particular contractor it's a project. So so what are the things that you'll be doing yourself, and what are the things that you'll be outsourcing? For example, you as a company, you may have suppose it's a petrochemical plant project, and you have the facility to fabricate pressure vessels. So, and suppose within that particular project, there are certain pressure vessels to be fabricated. So it's a decision of the project team whether to fabricate those pressure vessels in-house, or it should be outsourced to some outside fabricators. So it's a make or buy decision kind of a thing. And again, how many contractors should be employed? So if I refer to my own experience in the 1290 tons per day air separation plant for Tata Steel, there basically for the civil works we had L&T ECC as the contractor. So L&T ECC was given the full civil works and also the electrical works, and for the fabrication and for the mechanical works it was the Tata Construction and Projects. And there was another contractor involved called Artson who was into the vessels. So now, again, LNTCC also engaged different subcontractors, and so as TCPL, that is the Tata Construction and Projects. So, but you as the prime client, you need to have a very clear understanding of that whom they are outsourcing, and you need to have a very proper guideline and policy on the basis of which you will have a very firm grip on the contractors and their subcontractors. That is very important. So that is what I'm trying to mean by how many contractors should be employed. And what should be the terms of contract? So the moment you talk about the terms of contract, so primarily there are two. One is the GCC, that is the general conditions of contract, and the special conditions of contract. And you as the project manager, you should be very clear about the terms of contracts, and all the technical specifications are to be very well defined, and all the general conditions of contract and the special terms of contracts are to be very well defined, so that your execution becomes smooth, and so that you do not end up with litigations. Work breakdown structure I have already referred to. So the work breakdown structure, it helps in effective planning by dividing the work to the manageable elements which can be planned, budgeted, and controlled. So that is the first point. So suppose it's a 4-year-long project or a 3-year-long project involving huge amount of resources in terms of manpower, in terms of plant and machineries. So how do you divide this entire project into certain manageable elements? So those manageable elements we call it tasks. So how do you define those tasks? So the basic logic is, so those individual tasks should be well planned, budgeted, and controlled. The second point is the assignment of responsibilities for work elements to project personnel and outside agencies. So the moment you define those tasks, it becomes easier for you to understand that in order to complete those tasks, what are the resources that you need. Resources in terms of plant machineries and materials, and also manpower, and whether a single task or a group of tasks can be clubbed and then maybe formulated as a turnkey sub-project. So those things are possible once you properly do your WBS. Then the development of control and information system. This is something very, very important. I have experience of working where the internet facilities were not that strong. We had to depend on the fax messages, And also now we so you see in today's scenario, the things are more agile and more prompt. So how do we develop different control and information system in order to monitor the progress, uh, primarily the material handling and the manpower, right? So the control and information system helps us to primarily maintain the movement of materials, because the moment we talk about the turnkey projects, the movement of materials is something very, very crucial. So the control and information system is very, very important to track the movement of material and the project progress, and also the manpower. So life cycle of the project, which is something very, very fundamental. So the project life cycle has identifiable start and end points, which can be associated with a time scale. A project passes through several distinct phases as it matures. The life cycle includes all phases from point of inception to final termination of the project. So the 6 phases are sequentially: concept, definition, design, manufacture, installation, and project termination. So these phases are fine, but what is more important for you as the project manager is to understand the challenges in each and every phase, the management responsibility and authority involved in different phases, the manpower and the cost and the time involved in different phases. Then comes the identification of stakeholders. Uh, you as a project team, you should be able to identify all the stakeholders of the project affecting the project in different phases. So in different phases of the project, you'll come across different stakeholders affecting the project. So strategic management approach is to be adapted for management of stakeholders. So, so this is the constant metrics that I am proposing for the stakeholder mapping. Uh, we all know how different infrastructure projects have suffered due to the mismanagement of the stakeholders. Maybe some hydroelectric project, or maybe some road project, some bridge project, right? Or maybe some irrigation project. So we have been the part of the impact evaluation study for the roads, bridges, and irrigation projects for NABARD. So there also we have experienced the impact of stakeholders in the entire project execution. For example, if you talk about uh, the hydroelectric project. So in northeastern region of Assam, we have seen the kind of constraint that those hydroelectric projects have gone through. Uh, uh, Maybe improper environment impact studies, or maybe not due to not strategically dealing with the stakeholders. So the moment you talk about the mega developmental projects, you as the project manager, you'll be dealing with different stakeholders. So in my experience of dealing with the Assam Power Distribution Company Limited, which is basically responsible for the power distribution in Assam. So their challenge had been very different, right? So dealing with different villagers, right? So while laying that cable. So other day I was just discussing with one of my colleagues who is the general manager of Indian Oil Corporation Pipelines Division. He was just telling me that his challenge of the stakeholder management in the pipeline division of Indian Oil Corporation. So the argument is that if NHI, if National Highway Authority of India Limited takes over land, so land acquisition becomes something very important for this kind of projects. I'm just comparing the National Highway Authority of India Limited's challenges and the Indian Oil Corporation's pipeline division challenges. So when NHI acquires land, so it has been observed that the villagers somewhere or other they are supportive. Why? Because they get a good price of their land. So maybe 5 times, if I'm not wrong, if it's an agricultural land, so 5 times of the land. And so the moment the road goes through a particular area, so you see overall development in that area, because uh, it becomes easier for the villagers to transport their agricultural produces and the output of the local the cottage industries. So it has a very strong impact on the livelihood. So that is what we studied in the impact assessment study of the roads and bridges projects of NABARD. So therefore, the villagers are enthusiastic, the villagers are helpful, and they come together and convince the person uh, who is actually giving the land to NHI, and it's a win-win situation for them. But in case of Indian Oil Corporation, uh, the challenge is more. Number one, the moment the pipeline goes through someone's paddy field, uh, now they will have restrictions. They will not be able to grow certain types of crops there. They could not dig that particular land beyond the certain depth, and there is no direct impact on livelihood. Like in NHI, when the road goes, there's a direct impact on the livelihood. But when a pipeline goes, there is no impact on the livelihood, and that compensation is also less. So how do you deal with the people in that situation? So the moment you talk about, again, if you talk about the laying of the high tensile electric transmission lines, there also you as a project team, you are going to face a lot of constraints. And how do you deal with the stakeholders? So your stakeholders are not only the villagers. It is the government authorities, it is the pressure groups, it is the statutory bodies there, and the law, right? So and the public administrators. So you as a project team, you need to very clearly identify that in different phases of your project, what are the different activities, and in those activities, who are the stakeholders uh, positively or negatively getting influenced or getting impacted or impacting your project. What are the constraints, and what should be your management strategy to deal with those situations? So I was referring to this particular project, in which I was fortunate to be a part of. That is the 1290 tons per day air separation plant for Tata Steel and the 2 into 1000 Newton meter cube hydrogenation plant at BKTPP. So, what are the things that I observed in these two mega projects? One is the professionalism, that is value for time. So, these multinational companies, they give lot of emphasis on the entire timeline, which I feel or I've observed in many government projects. We are not so strict about the time, but this kind of companies, they give utmost importance to this, the Gantt chart that they make. And as all of us can understand that the project planning is a dynamic process. Suppose in the Gantt chart, we said that for this particular activity, we need 60 days and we will be able to finish it in 60 days. But some adversity occurred, maybe some bad weather condition, and instead of 60 days, it took maybe 80 days. So your entire project planning changes. So how do you deal with those dynamic changes? Leadership is something I have personally felt, that very strong leadership from the project manager, and project manager was given the full authority in order to execute the responsibility. So the moment we talk about the organizational structure, we have already talked about the project as organization is a matrix organization. So project manager is the leader. So many times we feel that the project suffers because there's a mismatch of management responsibility and authority. So there has to be so management responsibility and authority has to go hand in hand. If someone is having a responsibility to execute something, so that particular team also need to have the authority to execute it. So the moment we see there's a mismatch of the management responsibility and authority, the leadership fails. Project planning, I personally seen in these two projects how critically they follow the program evaluation review technique and critical path method. The teamwork is something very much feasible in the project management and execution of such companies. Stakeholders and contracts management, there are regular meetings with the contractors and there are regular meetings with the stakeholders. Design management is something very crucial that I've seen in this kind of projects. So communication technology. So this 1290 TPD was commissioned in 99, and this BKTPP, that is the Bharat Thermal Power Project, it was commissioned in 2002. So I'm not talking about the BKTPP, the hydrogen generation plant for BKTPP. That is the Bharat Thermal Power Project. So at that point of time, the ERP was fully in place, and these companies took the best benefit of the ERP while implementing their the project management tools. Materials management is something very important for such kind of project, and I have seen the materials management tools and techniques these companies use. Many of the materials, including the pipe fittings and lot of equipments, actually came from UK and some from France, and those were all coming in different vessels. And so we had a very strong system to monitor the movements of materials across the sea, and then accordingly we planned our erection schedules. So the material planning is also linked with the uh, the assembly and the erection plan. So unless the material plan is very clear, in such kind of construction turnkey projects, your assembly and the erection plan will suffer. So therefore, it is very much important to have a very strong information and communication platform to be in place in order to monitor the movements of the material. Procurement, planning, and transportation. I've already talked about the fabrication and erection plans. The safety and quality standards were maintained to the highest standard possible, and there were regular meetings of the safety and the quality team. Now let me discuss some of the important things that I've gathered from different research articles. So this I found very interesting is the relationship between multidimensional top management support and the project success. So the moment we talk about the top management support, what do we basically talk about? Uh, it is number one is to provide resources. So the top management should give us the full support to provide resources. So when you say resources, it can be an intellectual property, it can be an access to a specific technology or access to a particular company, or it can be any material, it can be any equipment, it can be manpower. So the top management should provide us the full support to provide different resources. What is the structural arrangements? So when you talk about the structural arrangement, again you are referring to the organizational structure. So what is the structural arrangement that the top management has given to that project? So if you go wrong in the structural arrangement, that is many times you call stuffing in the project, there will be big mistakes in the project. How the top management is continuously communicating with the project team, and what is the means of communication? That is something very important, and the top management should be able to provide the full support for communication and the approvals. Expertise, what kind of support that the top management is giving in terms of different expertise, and the power. So that is the authority. So how do we define project success in terms of these 5 different top management support? First of all, it's the project efficiency. How efficiently we are implementing and executing the project. Impact on customer, impact on the team, direct organizational business success, and preparing for the future. So from these 5 perspectives, we basically measure the project success. Again, if we see the relationship between multidimensional top management support and project success, so if you see the variables like provide resources, structural arrangement, communication expertise, and power, if you see the relationship of these individually with the project success, so the relationship is not very strong with the individual variables. But these variables have a very strong relationship. Like if you look into power, right? Power and communication. And again, expertise and communication, right? So power and communication, you see a very strong relationship. Expertise and communication, you see a very strong relationship, right? So we should be able to identify that which particular attribute is affecting which one, like power and communication, expertise and power, right? So moment we see a very strong relationship of these two variables, what is the combined effect of these two top management issues to the project success? Again, in today's business world, what is very important for us is to understand the innovative climate. Because when you talk about project management, basically you are talking about change management. It is not the status quo. You are changing an existing situation. So, what is the innovative climate within the organization? So, this is a conceptual framework for project target benefit formulation in the public sector. So, I've taken the reference of the government projects of the public sector. So, a formal benefit formulation process is the one, then the public service motivation, then comes a senior executive leadership, then the senior executive support. So these four things are finally targeting towards the project target benefits, and there will be a flanking effect of innovative climate in this particular communication. So the link of the formal benefit formulation process, public service motivation, senior executive leadership, and senior executive support, all these four entities are linked to the project target benefits, and there will be a flanking effect of innovative climate in this particular communication. Uh, I've been referring to some the output focused projects like the 1290 TPD project, and I was also referring to the developmental projects like the roads, bridges, and the irrigation projects. So let us see the difference between the output focused projects and the benefit oriented projects, and their linked the project management issues linked to the output focused project and the benefit oriented projects. If you look into the managerial focuses, in the output focused project is managing input and output. So basically you are talking about the return on investment. But in case of the benefit oriented project, it is the multiple focuses, managing input and output with a focus on the ultimate realization of the project benefit. Project objectives, if you look into an output focused project management, so very clearly we say 1290 TPD. So 1290 tons per day oxygen. So that's very clearly mentioned. So meet agreed efficiency target measured by the iron triangle. But whereas if you talk about a road project or maybe a bridge project, right? So which we call connectivity projects. So multiple objectives: response to stakeholder needs, improve organizational capacity, and implement strategic plans. In later part of my presentation, I'll refer to our project on the impact assessment study for connectivity projects of NABARD, where we actually try to understand that what is the benefit the stakeholders are getting once the road has been constructed. So what is the impact on their quality of life in terms of access to education, in terms of access to healthcare, in terms of access to local administration, maybe access to the police station, right? Or and access to the local vegetable market, and access to the production services from the towns which are coming to those villages. So it's a two-way. It is not only selling their agricultural produces to the local markets, but it is also creating an opportunity to buy different products which are coming from towns or cities. So unlike the 1290 TPD project where the output is very well defined, so here the objectives are different. So it is the response to the stakeholders' needs, improve organizational capacity, and implement strategic plans. In fact, so that particular impact assessment study was from the RIDF fund, that is the Rural Infrastructure Development Fund of NABARD, which many of you know that is the KITI fund created from the public sector banks, of this country. So we also try to understand that what is the impact on the public sector bank branches in that area after the construction of the road or after construction of the bridge. Whether the people had a very easy access to the bank branches, right? And whether there's a impact on the credit deposit ratio in those public sector bank branches. So what I'm trying to mean is that in the benefit oriented project management, your measurement variables are different than your purely output focused projects. Performance evaluation, that is the iron triangle: time, budget, and scope, right? So in output focus, it is the time, budget, and scope, right? So whether you have completed the project within the stipulated time, whether you have completed the project within the budget, and whether through the project, whatever the output you are getting, whether it is exactly as per scope and exactly you are getting the quality of the products or service or not. It's something like that. It's very much mathematical. But whereas in benefit oriented, it's the multiple evaluation measures, distinguish project success and project management success, where iron triangle is used for measuring project management success, and benefit realization is used to measure project success. So in development projects, we use something called social cost benefit analysis. So in output focused project, it is you can apply the traditional financial appraisal methods like the calculation of NPV, that's the net present value, or internal rate of return. Whereas in the benefit oriented project, we follow the social cost benefit analysis, etc. Project leadership focus. So the project manager leading the output delivery process. So basically the project manager's main focus is the output delivery process. Whereas in the benefit oriented project management is the multiple project leadership focus. The project owner leading the benefit realization process, whereas the project manager remains the leader for the output delivery process. So, so what are the antecedents for the well-formulated project target benefit in the public sector? So constructs are a formal benefit formulation process. So factors may be the stakeholders engagement, cross-functional collaboration. The construct may be the public service motivation, and the factors are public service mindset, long-term mindset. Senior executive leadership is the clear, future-oriented organizational strategic vision, a single accountable lead. And the senior executive support is the resource availability and the executive commitment. So this is one definition that I have got from one of the very interesting research article. So where the success dimensions and success measures are being mapped. So how do you map the success dimensions and success measures? Let us first consider the meeting design goals. So success measures may be the functional specifications, whether we are meeting the functional specifications, whether we are meeting the technical specifications, whether we are meeting the schedule goals, and whether we are meeting the budget goals. So this is meeting design goals. So basically the technical specifications, schedule goals. Then comes the benefit to the end user. It may be meeting acquisition goals, answering the operational need, uh, product entered service, reach the end user on time, product has a sustainable time for use, meaningful improvement of user operational levels, user is satisfied with product. So these may be the success measures for the benefit to the end user. But if you look into the benefit to the developing organization, measures may be relatively high profit, whether it has opened a new market, whether it has created a new product line, whether it has developed a new technological capability, whether it has increased a positive reputation. Then finally, benefits to the community and national infrastructure. The success measure may be contributed to the critical subjects, maintaining a flow of updated generations, decreasing dependencies on outside sources, and contribution to other projects. Just a minute. Just there was some problem. Am I with you? Please confirm. Am I with you? Please confirm.
Yeah,
Yes,
you
sir.
are with us. You
Yes.
are with us. Please continue.
Thank you. So, during the presentation, I was referring to this particular project. That is the impact evaluation study of roads, bridges, and irrigation projects of Assam, funded under the Rural Infrastructure Development Fund. So, our client was NABARD, and we have completed it. And there were altogether 16 bridge and road projects that we have considered, and 4 irrigation projects. So where, as I told you, we actually tried to see that, okay, how many two-wheelers are moving through that particular bridge in a particular day, how many auto rickshaws are moving, how many trucks are moving, how many buses are moving, etc., and where those were going, right? So we actually kept people to continuously observe those. We actually fit the digital camera to capture the movements of the vehicles. So and those are finally entered in the data sheet, and we finally did the statistical analysis. Then we also conducted different focus group discussions with the villagers and with the local authorities, and we actually try to understand that what had been the impact of that particular road or bridge in improvement of their quality of life. So the interrelations with the projects and various elements responsible for socioeconomic impact were identified. So there are very funny or interesting situations that you have observed. So in the right hand side in the photograph, you can see a bridge has been constructed, but we got a very low impact on that particular bridge. So it was not at all matching the data which was there in the DPR. The DPR is the detailed project report. So you can see the reason, no? So the bridge has been constructed, but the road has not been leveled to the bridge level. So someone has just put some wooden piece, and only some two-wheelers are moving. And in the other picture, you can see in a village road. So this particular road was also under our study. You can see that the overloading, right? So in the public transport, there are overloading, and also the edges of the roads are not maintained. So in the RIDF scheme of NABARD, so the maintenance part was not there. So in many roads in the Assam and in the northeastern region, we find that the roads do not last long because their edges are not being maintained properly. So we actually suggested NABARD to come up with a policy through which they can also cover the maintenance of the edges of the roads, right? So these looks very simple solutions, but the impact has been huge. We also found that a very low impact on a particular road uh, in Hailakandi district area. The reason was that there's a conflict between the railway authorities and the PWD, because the PWD Assam was the executing agency for the road construction for the RIDF scheme. And there was a dispute between the railway authorities because there's a railway line crossing that particular road, and there's a dispute between the railway authority and the PWD, and as because the dispute was not been resolved, so they could not construct the road. So that is what we are just discussing in the stakeholder mapping in our earlier slides. This another project that we have recently completed. This project is for a diagnostic study on the weaver's need in respect of Aryan Muga. So our client is the World Bank. That is the uh, apart project. It's a big project. Many of you know about it. So Aryan Muga silk, these are unique silk of Assam, and World Bank has entrusted us to study the weavers' needs in terms of plant machineries and the looms, and um, also the selling points. So World Bank wanted us to do a diagnostic study from both the sides, from the weaver side and also from the market side. And we've been given the tasks to uh, formulate some design strategy for alignment of the supply and the demand value chain. So we did extensive focus group discussion at ethnography and also questionnaire based study, and finally we suggested 5 point strategies, and all these were certain sub projects, right? So on the basis of our report, actually World Bank finally decide on different projects throw apart. So the one project is the skill development and skill upgradation strategy. Another is that we suggested to implement design studio and digital design banks in 8 districts of Assam, where there is a cluster of Aryan Muga, and this digital studio and the digital design bank will make a repository of the designs of the cluster level designers, and different clusters will be able to buy those designs, and if any of you are familiar with the weaving, so in the jacquard weaving we need to also make the jacquard card, and these days CAM technology is available on the basis of which you can make the jacquard card punching and also latching. So we wanted government to implement those digital the design studio, and where not only the digital design will happen, but also the jacquard card punching and latching will happen. So the master weaver will take the the punched and latched jacquard, and then fit in the looms. So that was the idea. We also propose a system design solution for integrated supply chain management. So you see the entire weaving environment is very different. You see different stakeholders are involved, right? Right from government to private, right? So the people who are into reeling, the people who are into dyeing, the people who are into selling and weaving. So how do we integrate those? And there are different mega clusters. There are different self-help groups involved in these things. And the basic problem that the weaving clusters face is to meet the export demand. Now, normally the export demands are very huge in quantity, and they are also very strict about the timeline and the quality. So quality is another challenge, because the moment you talk about handloom, it is very difficult to exactly specify uh, the quality in terms of numbers. The quantifying quality becomes very difficult, because handloom, so moment you make it so numeric, it'll lose the essence of handloom. Finally, it will become a machine loom product. So but the quantity, right? So a huge quantity order has come to a particular CFC, suppose. How to distribute that quantity to different weavers working in different shades, and also different self-help groups, and how do you keep on updating your client about the progress of their consignment, so order, right? So we actually propose a system design solution for this. So in above two photographs, you can see a semi-automatic loom for productivity and quality improvement for Aryan Muga weaving. This is another project that we did for Ministry of Textiles. Uh, uh, so as you know, the Government of India Ministry of Textile has implemented different mega handloom clusters across the country. So in Assam, we have a mega handloom cluster in Sibsagar, and we as Department of Design, and I was the PI, we provided the design management and technical consultancy to this mega handloom cluster. And in the left hand side photograph, you can see the state of the art uh, AD spinning facility that is there in Sibsagar district. Many of you might have heard about the Lakshmi machine tool in Coimbatore, which is pioneer in manufacturing CNC machine tools for manufacturing and also for textiles. So Lakshmi machine tool had the expertise of making machine tools for other spinning, maybe cotton spinning or other silk spinning, but they did not have expertise in Eri and Muga. And the Eri and Muga silk is very different. So this is implemented by one special purpose vehicles called Rudrasagar Silk Limited. So they had to actually sit with the Lakshmi machine tool and do R&D, and then come up with a new set of spinning machineries only for AD weaving. So this is one particular project that we take into pride, and this particular handloom cluster was implemented through three special purpose vehicles, and all these three special purpose vehicles were companies, the limited companies, and there were different cooperative societies and self-help groups involved in these three special purpose vehicles. So in earlier slide also I have talked about the stakeholder management, etc., and the pressure groups, and in development projects, how do you manage with different stakeholders and different beneficiaries, and how do you create a win-win situation for everyone is the challenge of the project manager. So in these photographs, you can see the uh, some of the situations in that particular project. These are certain small projects that we are doing for. This is for the street vending, the street food vending, and in earlier slide, I talked about the complexities, novelty, and technology and the time, etc. So in this particular, this particular project is something very novel in terms of the technology and in terms of the arrangement. We are we are trying to take the traditional bamboo pork or bamboo chicken cooking to the institutional areas like airports or maybe railway stations or maybe big restaurant, where we are using basically the porous radiant burner for which we IIT Guwahati we has patent. And then we are exploring different cooking arrangements for bamboo chicken or bamboo pork cooking. So I'm not going into details of this, but we got success in the first series of experiments. So now I'll quickly touch upon the tools and methods to deal with risk and uncertainties. So one of the mandate of my today's lecture was also to discuss about the risks. So why risks? The moment we talk about project management, as I already referred, that the project management is a synonym to change management. So the moment you talk about change management, definitely there will be risks. So how do we deal with risks? So one is the financial and the economic risks. So financial and the economic risks, those can be measured through different tools like net present, the calculation of net present value or internal rate of return. So those are the financial management perspective. I'm not going into those, but I'm basically discussing about the general management perspective and also operations management perspective, with special emphasis to the design tools. So I'm proposing some methods here to deal with the risk and uncertainties in terms of project. So first tool, many of you may be already familiar with, that is called the pestle analysis. So we extensively use this particular tool. The pestle analysis lists the political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental factors that can affect an organization's product or service. So whenever we talk about any project planning, we need to understand that we need to conduct a pestle analysis for this. So P stands for political. So we need to identify what are the different political factors that may affect my project, maybe in a positive or a negative way. What is the latest government? What is their mandate? What is their policy on a specific product or service or a system? What kind of projects that they are promoting, right? So we need to understand these situations, and the moment we talk about a project in a different country or a different state, we need to be very clear about the political will and the political dynamics which is there in that particular geographic area, maybe a country or a state. And next is the economic. So what is the economic environment in that particular geography or in that particular state or the country? What are the economic policies? What is the purchasing power? What is the per capita income of the people in that area, etc. We should be also able to analyze different social situations in that particular customer segment, we may call, or in that particular geography or demography. So the cultural and the social factors, they influence a lot the moment you talk about a new project. In fact, when Kellogg's launched their product in Indian market. So initially they said that now they will be changing the food habit of the Indian people, and primarily the breakfast, the habit of taking breakfast. So, but the Indian people, we have very traditional breakfast, right? So idli, dosa, or roti, right? So how do you slowly change the food habit through a particular new intervention? And what is the cultural, socio-cultural beliefs and taboos, right? We all know the kind of challenge that the McDonald's faced when they launched their product in India. So socio-cultural dimensions are to be studied very critically whenever we talk about a new project. Technological issues, right? So what kind of technology we are using, whether it is the latest technology or whether it's a proven technology, or you want to experiment with this. What is the legal terms and conditions in that particular geography or in that particular demography, and what are the environmental factors? So in short, we need to very clearly understand the political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental factors that can affect my project. Then comes SWOT analysis, which is something very common and very popular. That is the how do you identify the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of a particular organization or a particular project. So now you see the strengths and weaknesses. These two are the internal factors, and opportunity and threats, those two are the external factors, right? So what is the basic strength of your organization in terms of resources, in terms of its intellectual property and capability, and what are the weaknesses? What are the opportunities from different business environment, right, or different markets, and what are different threats, right? Maybe from different stakeholders, or maybe from different competitors, or maybe from different governments, etc. But what is very important for us to understand is the strength and weaknesses. These two are the internal factors, and opportunity or threats, these two are external factors. So pestle and SWOT, these two are very common tools that we use. But what I'm trying to discuss is the combination of pestle and SWOT. So combining SWOT and pestle. So I'm referring to one very interesting study of port energy management system project from Sweden. So where they have combined SWOT and pestle. So the study that I'm referring to is identifying the main opportunities and challenges from implementation of port energy management system, a SWOT and pestle analysis combination. You see, this research focuses on the prospects and challenges facing the development of a port energy management system. It analyzes the main factors which exert an impact on such a plan that need to be taken into account for its successful implementation. This analysis is based on empirical data from two leading North European port authorities. I reiterate, I am discussing a project from Sweden, and that particular project is on the port energy management system, where they have very effectively combined pestle and SWOT analysis. A SWOT and pestle analysis is utilized for the identification of political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental factors that have a positive or negative impact on the adoption of successful implementation of port energy management system. So here you can see how they have clubbed the internal and external factors with different factors of pestle. So what they did, they first identified the influencing factors. Then all those influencing factors, they segregated into internal and external. So in internal, as you can understand, that is the strengths and weaknesses, and in external, it is the opportunities and threats. And they have tried to map the internal factors, that is the strengths and weaknesses, whether it's a political or economic or social or technological, And similarly, the external factors, which are basically the opportunities and threats, and they are mapping those opportunities and threats with political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environment. And this is the output of the analysis of combining SWOT and PESTEL. So political internal factors, they have identified port-specific plan. They have identified clear port energy policy, management objectives and goals. In external factors, they have identified influence of their stakeholders, financing opportunities. In economic factors, so from all the PESTEL points like political, economic, social, environment, legal, they have tried to segregate the internal factors and the external factors. For economic, they have identified cost of energy efficiency measures, that is as an internal factor. As an external factor, they have identified reduction of energy cost and improvement of profitability, competitive advantage, that is commitment to sustainable development, and additional funds. These are the external factors that they have identified from the economic point of view. Sorry. From social point of view, they have identified the internal factors like top management commitment. In our earlier slides, we have discussed about the importance of the commitment of the top management and the continuous training of staff. External factors, they've identified integration of energy efficiency management in the ports activities. Number two, they have identified wrong application of energy management plan due to organizational culture or staff management resistance, leading to the opposite effect. From technological point of view, they have identified internal factors, identification of energy efficiency measures, accurate performance monitoring, and periodic management review. External factors, they have identified development of new energy efficiency technologies. From legal perspective, they have identified internal factors like compliance with existing energy policies, regulations, and standards. And from external factors, they have identified meeting energy related regulations, that is 2014-94 EU. So that's a directive of the European Union. From internal factors, they have identified reduction of energy consumption and related emissions, establishment of an energy baseline. External factors, they have identified reduced impact of air pollutants on human health and climate change. So what is the takeaway from this particular discussion is that how effectively we combine the SWOT and PESTEL, and how do we segregate different internal and external factors from the perspective of political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental. And on this basis, how do you finally recommend your project strategy? So this is how they have recommended their project strategy. I'm not going into details of this. I'm just discussing the framework, which is more important for you. So for different project, your output will be different. Second tool I'm discussing is the scenario planning. So we all have experienced the rise and fall of the organizations based on the new technologies and the new innovations, and the fall of the great companies as because they could not accept the new technology challenges. So how as a project team you try to identify or you try to understand the future challenges? So one of the very effective tool that I'm proposing is the scenario planning. So in different disaster management situations and disaster management projects, also scenario planning has been used, primarily in some simulations in Assam for the Assam State Disaster Management Authority. They also use scenario planning. So just to brief you about the scenario planning as a tool, is the one way is to create an imaginable future, is which to explore new design opportunities to use scenarios. Scenarios create a context in which imagine consumers using potential products and services, thinking about the everyday experiences and behaviors of consumers in a scenario can provide the design team with a better understanding of their target audience as they highlight the relationship between the consumer behavior, situation, and production services. By brainstorming and experimenting with these scenarios, whether they are drawn, written, or oral descriptions, new ideas for products and service can emerge. And that is how you formulate a new project. So among many tools a manager can use for strategic planning, scenario planning stands out for its ability to capture a whole range of possibilities in rich details. By identifying basic trends and uncertainties, a manager can construct a series of scenarios that will help to compensate for the usual errors in decision making, overconfidence, and tunnel vision. So what is overconfidence and tunnel vision? In this particular context, I'm referring to a text from MIT Sloan. It says a very interesting story. Early in this century, it was unclear how airplanes would affect naval warfare. When Brigadier General Billy Mitchell proposed that airplanes might sink battleships by dropping bombs on them, US Secretary of War Newton Baker remarked, "That idea is so damn nonsensical and impossible that I am willing to stand on the bridge of a battleship while that native tries to hit it from the air." Josephus Daniels, Secretary of the Navy, was also incredulous and said, "Good God, this man should be writing dime novels." Even the prestigious Scientific American proclaimed in 1910 that to affirm that the aeroplane is going to quote unquote revolutionize naval warfare of the future is to be the guilty of the wildest exaggeration. But we know the history. So, in hindsight, it is difficult to appreciate why air power's potential was unclear to so many. But can we predict the future any better than these defense leaders did? We are affected by the same biases they were. It was probably as hard for them to evaluate the effect of airplanes in 1920 as it is for us to assess the impact over the next decades of multimedia, the Human Genome Project, biotechnology, AI, organ transplant, superconductivity, space colonization, and myriad other developments. So, in order to break that biasness, we can use scenario planning. So scenario planning originated in 1970. Main goal of scenario planning is to develop different possible views of the future and to analyze their possible consequences for companies. The scenario planning helps managers to challenge their assumptions and to be better prepared for possible future developments. So moment we talk about project, basically we are talking about something that is going to give us the results in the fruit in coming future. So for after any project implementation, we do not start getting the fruit right from the second day, right? So what is the future, right? So if you can at least map a future scenario that if this kind of project comes, then the situation will change to this particular extent, or the scenario will change to this particular extent, right? So from that perspective, the scenario planning is so important, or maybe so useful for any project management, risk assessment analysis. Scenario planning is a method for developing and thinking through possible future state on the basis of different scenarios. The aim of the technique is not to accurately predict the future. Please remember this point. The aim of the technique is not to accurately predict the future, but rather to develop better strategies by overcoming the perceptual bias of managers. Scenario planning is based on assumptions that future developments are largely uncertain. We know that the future developments are largely uncertain, right? But still we try to create a situation, and then we simulate. We actually, and in scenario planning, we actually write a futuristic scenario story, and many times we also call it speculative design. It is not science fiction. It is all about writing a speculative scenario, right? based on the new technologies or the new situations of your entire political, economic, and social situations. And then you try to see in that particular situation what kind of product, services, systems will be coming, and how do you conceive a new project concept, right? And then you bring in different actors to play in that particular simulation, and then you try to translate those rich details into certain strategies. Scenario planning is considered for strategic planning and policy making in descriptions, scripts, and contents. Besides, developing scenario is essential for plausibility exploring future uncertainties. It is considered a management technology profoundly utilized by decision makers and managers of an organization to analyze future possibilities. The moment we talk about project, we are talking about future possibilities. We are talking about chance. We are talking about a future situations. So scenario planning is a form of exploration. Organizations like British Airways, Electrolux, and United Distillers use scenario planning to anticipate the future and aid strategic planning with special emphasis to service design. Scenario planning is a very useful tool for formulating corporate strategy for design. Scenario planning is a strategic perspective for anticipating and adapting design change in today's uncertain business environment. I'm not discussing an example. I'm straightway coming to the conclusion. So, what do we conclude from the discussion? So, the moment we talk about a successful project management approach, we should be able to follow the basic project management principles, that is PIME. We call it project implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. So I have talked about certain diagnostic studies, certain uh, projects which we are executing, and how do you monitor, and also the impact evaluation. So we should be able to follow the basic project management principles in the entire project planning, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation phases. We should be able to apply innovative tools and techniques for strategic risk management and change management. And two tools that I have discussed for the risk management and change management. One is the combination of the pestle analysis and SWOT, with the example of a port energy management system. And the second is the scenario planning. In the scenario planning, basically, you try to imagine a futuristic situation where you talk about the future situation uh, in terms of the socio-political or consumer behavior context. And you also talk about the future technology, right? And then you bring in actors to simulate in that particular situation, and you try to uh, um, ideate new project concept, and also you try to see if this is the kind of project that you are doing, what are the risks that we are going to face in terms of technology or consumer behavior, or maybe in terms of the socio-political environment in that particular customer segment, or maybe in that particular geographic or demographic segment. So I conclude here. I have tried to bring in the insights of design into the project management. So actually, we have conducted some project management development program where we have tried to blend it from the creativity and design perspective, because in 2023, if we talk about project management, we cannot talk about project management except talking about creativity and design and the change management. So with this note, I thank you all. Hope it will be beneficial for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kalita. It's a really interesting speech, and I'm sure that our participants must have enjoyed it thoroughly. Our next lecture, lecture number 2, is on billing schedule and cash flow management, and the second subject is procurement